in order to come up with grades, we must have criteria. Tell me what you're using.
Well, and I have to be honest here, there's lots of ways that we could rate the councillors, and I tried to come up with a combination of somewhat subjective criteria, because we're allowed to do that here, and some that I could quantify a little bit better. So I looked at basically four things. Their attendance at council meetings, just basically basic attendance that anybody can look at, and that information is actually available on their website. Also the volume of work that they take on, the extra committee work, because there's quite a number of other committees that council has that you can be involved in, and you can make pick and choose. I also looked at positive visibility, how their name is getting themselves out in the media. Are they is it in a positive light, negative light? How are they doing in that respect? That's a bit more subjective. And then I looked at just an opinion on how they are doing vis-a-vis democracy. Are they for democratic ideals, or how do they kind of shape up in those ways? Because I think that's important for any elected official.
Okay, let's pick off some of those individual elements. So which of the councillors does best as far as attendance goes?
Well, attendance for just basic council meetings, Halberstadt has the highest attendance. So he came in pretty good compared to everybody else. But everybody's pretty good. Everybody's above 80%, except when we look more at the extra committee work, that's when you turn to find a few people under 80%. But he's in the higher 90s, so doing very well. But most people are around the 80 to 90% attendance, so they're pretty good.
Right. What about committee membership?
Committee membership, there's a couple of people that do a lot, but Sleeman is the councillor that gets the gold star for committee membership. He's the busiest bee, I would suggest, on extra committees, and he actually has pretty high attendance. He had potential to go to 58 extra meetings this year, and made it to 98% of them, so he does really well when it comes to committee work.
Obviously a good time manager. Democratic behavior, that's an interesting one. Who sort of leads the council pack in that area?
Well, this one is a bit subjective, but when we're thinking of democratic behavior, we're thinking about somebody that's getting out there and actually being working for their constituents, and actually being that person that questions things, because you want to question ideas on council. And I think the person that stands out the most, it would be, again, Halberstadt, because he's not afraid to stand up and ask questions about things. Sometimes they're unpopular. Sometimes he's alone in asking those questions. I think that's a good thing for democracy. But I also put Joanne Geniak high here, because she really does stand up for, and on her own sometimes, for her constituents, and sometimes in ways that does kind of swim against the tide. And I think that's good for democracy as well.
Okay, we're going to fly through the individual grades for each councillor. We're going to omit Eric Kuzmerchuk. Just elected, really no body of work there.
That's right.
That we can look at. So let's start with Drew Dilkins. Overall grade?
I gave him a B. I think he's got good council attendance. He does a lot of committee work, although his attendance was a little poorer than some, was around 79%. He's got positive visibility and a strong voice, I think, for his constituents. But on the appointment for Ward 7, he was against the election issue. And even when he did reverse that decision, he decided to do so reluctantly. So I gave him a B overall.
B for Councillor Dilkins. Joanne Geniak?
Gave her an A-. I thought she had good council attendance, a little lower number of committees than some of the other ones, but her attendance was good, on over 90%. Positive visibility, strong voice for her constituents. Even though she voted, she was the one person that voted against the Ward 7 election, she did so based on strong conviction she was doing the right thing for her constituents.
Alan Halberstadt, how does he grade out?
I gave him an A, and because he had the best council attendance, he had pretty good committee work, and very high attendance in that. On that level, and I think he's positive for democracy, because he is one of those people that gets out there and questions council decisions.
Ron Jones from the West End.
I gave him a B. Good council attendance, lots of committees. He sits on 14. That's a pretty high number. His attendance was just okay, just over 85%. I know that sounds good, but compared to the others, it was on the lower side. He's not as visible compared to some of the other councillors, and he was one of those people that reversed their decision on the Ward 7 issue.
Let's take a look at Al Magny's report card.
I was a bit harsh on Al Magny, and this is partly because of when I was looking at council attendance and I was looking at the committee work. He's not sitting on any committees, and he was stripped of that work, obviously, because of the library scandal. The library scandal also didn't put him in good stead democratically in my books. I think a lot of people would have liked to have seen him step down. That would have been great for democracy, not so great maybe for him personally, but I think it would have been the democratic right thing to do. So for this, I gave him an F.
Ooh. Councillor Mara?
Mara, I gave him a B. His good council attendance, lots of committees. Attendance was, though, the worst on those committees at around 74%. They don't give us reasons why. There may be reasons, I'm not sure. But I gave him credit for standing up for transit. He's somebody that has positive visibility. And he also was one of those that first time around voted for by-election along with Halberstadt and actually Magny, surprisingly, on Ward 7.
All right. Councillor Hilary Payne.
Payne, I gave him a C+ because I don't see him as, he is visible, but not as much as the others on some of the kind of the bigger issues. Council attendance is good, but he's on lower number of committees and only at an 80% range, so he's not as active as some of the other ones. And he was one of those that reversed the decision on Ward 7. So I gave him a C+. I thought, you know, kind of in the middle of the road there.
All right, 2 to go. Councillor Ed Sleeman.
Sleeman, as I was saying, was that busy worker bee, but he's a quiet worker bee, so I gave him a B+. He's really active, but he isn't somebody we see a lot. Now, that might be because he's new. Maybe we'll see him more in the new year if he just intends to run again. I believe he said he does, but he's definitely the workhorse on council, sitting on 16 extra committees, and he's got a really high attendance, which is great.
And finally, Councillor Fulvio Valentinas, who was here just about an hour ago. How does he grade out?
That's right. Yeah, I thought he sounded good on the radio. I think he has good visibility. He also, I thought he was really good on the flag debate and trying to really be measured. So I gave him higher marks on his visibility and democratic accountability. Good council attendance, and he had 100% attendance on his committee membership, although on the lower side. So I gave him a B+ as well. I thought he was doing pretty good.
What do you think these grades say about Windsor City Council overall?
I think basically they're doing well. I think they should be proud of the work they've been doing alongside the mayor, and I think a lot of them should be in good stead if they go for re-election next time around. We'll have to see who throws their hat in the ring.